All right, recording started. Everyone, welcome to the Kids from It podcast. We have a special guest today, Mr. Zay. How you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Good to hear. Thank you for joining us. Joined, of course, by Carla and Kay, our wonderful co-hosts, along with myself, and we're gonna get started with this guest here. And so we'll go. So this is an interesting episode for us because generally, when we have a guest, it's someone that we're at least one of us is mostly familiar with through time at school together or time, growing up together. But Zay is going to be our first, into the woods and to see where we go here. So I'm pretty excited about this. So, Kayla, would you mind starting us off?
Yeah. Okay. Um, we wanted to talk to you a lot about your college experience, but before we get there, I just wanted to ask you about like your upbringing, as much as you're comfortable or willing to talk about. Like, were you raised in a super religious home, and were you kind of was Pensacola always the path for you, or how did that happen?
So I would say, so I grew up Baptist. My parents were always Baptist, and they were like straight to the book, like it's the law. So it was pretty strict growing up. And for me, it was like more of like, okay, it's kind of like my parents' religion or is it my religion? And then like being in it for so long, it was at that time, I feel like I just kind of like accepted it. And then obviously, like you learn a lot when you're, pretty much born in church and then living in church. Because my father's choir director, we're there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday. So we're always at church. So kind of like just like growing, that was kind of like the basis of the religion in my family. It was mainly Baptist. And then growing up, very, very strict, very, very strict. My dad was a Navy guy, so it was kind of yes, sir, no, sir, and that was it. So,
Mhm.
but how I got to Pensacola, so I have three older full brothers, and I'm the youngest of four, and my mom homeschooled us, K through 12, all of us, and she used the Becca curriculum, which is from
Okay.
Pensacola. So, and then the church I grew up in, it was usually, if you're going to go to a Christian college, you're going to go to Maranatha, Pensacola, or you're going to go to Bob Jones. Those are like the three main, if you're going to go to a Christian college. And so my parents very much against like the public school system just because they wanted to know what they were teaching the kids and everything like that. So that was the main reason we were homeschooled. And then Abeka was just the curriculum that like fit into the belief that they have. So K through 12 with Abeka. So growing up, knowing a lot about Pensacola Christian College, they would have reps come. So college wasn't even really in the front of my mind. I hate school, never really liked it. I thought I was going to play basketball. That didn't happen. Blew my knees. Tigger, leave me alone. Blew my knees out. So I was like, that's not going to happen. Dreams are crushed. So what do I do? And um, my my brother that's 4 years older than me, he had gone to the Marines. My dad was in the Navy, so I was like, I'll just go into the military. Like, I don't want to do anything else. College, whatever. Don't really care. And then my brother, that's 2 years older than me, he went to Pensacola for criminal justice. And then, like, I was not looking at colleges at all. Didn't care. Like, nothing was on the radar. And then my close friend growing up that went to the church that I grew up in, he's a year ahead of me. He went to Pensacola, so he's down there. And then my brother's like, they have sports management. I was like, sports?
Oh, sports?
I had
They,
no,
they
I,
do that
I
there?
literally no clue what sports management was about. Nothing whatsoever. He just said sports. I was like, okay, I guess. And so I visited him for college days. And I was like, oh, Florida, this is nice. College,
Yeah.
why not? They're like, it's not expensive. They say you won't be in debt when you graduate. It was true. I wasn't in debt, so that was nice. But then I was like, all right, okay, I guess I'll go to college. And so that's how I ended up in Pensacola in
Okay.
2014. Yeah, 2014. So
I want to ask a quick question about what the reps coming to your school was like. I don't know that I ever got the pleasure of seeing a Pensacola school ambassador.
I mean,
Hmm.
for me, um, like because I kind of know how they do it now a little bit because but I went to school with he was on the traveling team for a little bit. And it's just all they do is they have a group of like 4 or 5 different college students, and then they go to different churches, and then they sing specials, and then one of them preaches, and then it's basically like them just letting you know, hey, there's a college that you can send your kids to that's Christian. So that's like the main thing. I never really paid, like I said, I had no desire to go to a college at all, let alone a Christian college. So I really didn't pay much attention to it because, I mean, by the time I was 16, 17, I was like,
Bye.
I was like, I'm just here. So it is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so, well, I don't want to steal Carlos' thunder. I'll let you start with the school questions because I have so many school questions. What was your overall, like feel? Like once you finished Pensacola, were you like, that was tolerable, that was cool, or were you like?
For me, it was okay. Excuse me, Tigger, you gotta go. I'm gonna kick you out, Tigger. Sorry, he's a lover boy. Okay,
Double
stop.
get
Stop. Touch me one more time, I'll kick you out. Touch me one more time, I'll kick you out. For me, it was more of just, I don't know. I enjoyed it for the most part once I got accustomed to it. Because like I said, I grew up in a very strict home, and like, granted, their rules there, it's like, okay, why? Don't get it. But at the same time, it's like, all right, because a lot of people, they complain about the rules and all that stuff. But for me, once I figured them out, and I wasn't,
Yeah.
not saying I didn't break a few of the rules, but like, I don't know, overall experience, like, I'm glad that I went because like I got more life experience than I did education experience. Because their whole gear is to usually whatever ministry you're in, they want you to work in still like a ministry field. So my degree was sports management, and then graduating, they have career day. They have a bunch of people come in. They send you an email. Everyone's majors, and so sports management, all that was underneath that major for people coming in was either athletic directors for Christian schools, teachers for Christian schools, and then coaching for Christian schools. And so I saw that email and I was like, what? What am I supposed to do with this degree? I was like, thank you. What am I supposed to do with this degree now? And so I ended up going to the fair, and the only people I talked to the Air Force, and they had military recruiters there. The only people I talked to was the Air Force recruiter and the Navy recruiter. So for me, like the overall experience of going to college, I don't regret it at all. I learned a lot, life lessons in general, and it definitely, matured me. It was an experience. Like I don't know what life experiences I would have had if I didn't go to that school. So like, I was one to not really care for the rules, but at the same time, I was like, I can survive. This is not as terrible as a very big black man, as known as my father, yelling in my face. So this is okay. I'll be fine. So and everyone's response to the rules differently. And I will say, from my freshman year, like student life, that's like their correctional, body of school. Like their student life was different from my freshman year than to my senior year. So I will say, like, with the crazy things that they do,
What? Wait, we can't hear you.
Sorry, like the rules, a lot of them stupid, crazy, doesn't make any sense. Like they do, while I was there the 4 years, they did constantly improve the quality of life of the students. And it's like little things, like freshman year, you can't have headphones because they want to know what you're listening to. Because you can only listen to approved music, so you can't have headphones. And you always had to figure out, okay, is my RA cool or not? Because if your RA is cool, he's going to be like, okay, I know everyone here has headphones anyway, so like as long as they're not like blatant about it, like if I see it, I'm not going to care. So it's just like things like that. And so eventually, by my senior year, they got rid of that rule. So it's like, okay, so why do we have it in the first place? So they're constantly like changing. Like for my freshman year, I got sent to the dean's office the first weekend I was in school. So then going to like senior year, where I didn't talk to anyone. Like, okay, I talked to a few people, but like it was not as much as it was freshman year, because by my sophomore year, they pretty much removed everyone that was in student life and just had a whole new batch of people. So like, I would say there was a gradual change like my 4 years while I was there.
Do you feel like, okay, this is a weird question because my experience at Bob Jones like was kind of different than Carla's. I think there are a lot of people. I was able to get into Bob Jones, and I was kind of like you. Like the way you described it, like I observed for a little while, and then I pretty much made my plan of how I could break rules. And it was from that point I had a pretty different experience. But from what I've gathered post Bob Jones is that I was the exception, not the rule. Like it really wasn't that easy to get away with a whole lot at Bob Jones. Would you say that it was, you could get away with breaking rules, or was it like cutthroat like Bob Jones where that's it, you're out?
It depends on. There's so many things that like it depends on, really, because if you're stupid and just not even like paying attention to what you're doing, then
you're not
you're gonna
good
get caught.
at rule breaking, of course.
So it's like there's always a way around the rules. It just depends on the type of person. But I will say this, like I do know, like, and then there's just some RAs that are just out to get people. Like they are out to get people, and everyone knows who they are. It's like as soon as you see them, everyone just stiffens up. Everyone's like, just shut up, don't talk, don't say anything.
And that's
like,
your peers. That's the crazy part. It's not teachers, it's your peers.
and it's just like how
when they're doing that too.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't. I'm just like they're just power hungry, and it's just like everyone knows we don't like you. So what are you doing? And they just are out for people. And I know, especially for like girls, like they dress code. Obviously, I'm a dude, so it's like I gotta wear pants. Okay, I get it. Like the thing we got in trouble for was because we didn't shave. Because we didn't shave. You know, it's like, and I even fought RAs on that because I was just like, there's some instances it's stupid. I shaved last night. You're gonna send me back up into my dorm to shave this morning? No.
Oh yeah.
So it's just things like some were just like by the book. Like this is I'm the law. And then, you know, because I had so many friends and because they were girls, like just, oh, your skirt's a little bit too high, and like written up left and right, just left and right. And then if there's one girl already, she just writes everyone up. She just goes in. But us dudes, like we don't really have to worry about any of that stuff because it's like, you know.
Yeah. And the thing about that is,
I shaved my head.
You shaved your head? That's what you got sent to the dean's office for?
Okay, I like to switch up my hairstyles a lot. So I shaved the sides of my head all the way around, but I kept the top. You know, and that's like the back. But I bless you. Oh, and so I didn't have a taper or a fade, which is one of the rules. So I got written up. So I got sent to the dean's office for this. Like I get in, I sit down, he reads it, and he looks at me and he goes, I see. He's like, you're supposed to have a taper or a fade. You don't have one. I was like, okay. He's like, you should probably shave one. I was like, okay. And then I left. I was like, it's skin. I can't shave skin. So
what are you gonna do with that?
It's just like this is things like that. You're just like, why am I? Because they would. When my freshman to junior year, they would just give you a slip in your mailbox, so you have no clue what
no context,
sent
no
for.
Like
Senior year, they finally sent you emails, but like, so I got a green slip to student life. I'm like, okay, what did I do? Like, what have I done? Nothing. So it's like, okay, whatever. Thank you for wasting my time. So it's just things like that.
Well, dang. Did you have sidewalk rules?
No, we did not have sidewalk rules.
Hey, all right. So they were gone by 2014. Good to know.
No. The thing was the loop. So like, and you knew whoever, when two people were talking, you knew because they would walk the loop all the fucking time. They just walk the loop around campus. So especially at nighttime, who's a couple because they're just walking the loop and then they're sitting around the bell towers waiting to drop their girl off before curfew. So.
Oh god.
We didn't have a loop at BJU, but now that you say that, I remember seeing couples walking around all the fucking time. I was like, wow, cool date.
I made the loop a few times myself.
Do you remember same siding, Kayla? When couples would do that in the DC or just anywhere.
Yes. Oh
What
no.
is-
Yeah, I
say-
forgot about
Yeah,
that.
what is that?
Say
Yeah.
same siding?
Sitting on the same side as each other when no one else is at the table.
Oh, that's
Oh,
disgusting.
okay.
That's disgusting. I don't know. I would walk past him. I'd be like, I'd look at him and be like, that's disgusting.
I know. I
I'm
would
gonna pray for you guys.
purposefully and be like, eh. Just
Oh no, it was a weird place to freeze. Oh, there we go. All right, Carla.
It's like-
Carla, you froze on a very
Well,
funny
you're
face
frozen
right
like
there.
It's like
So
she hitting that slow motion.
yeah, it's like
I love you. We'll edit that part out.
no, we won't. No, we won't.
No, we won't. We won't.
The Wi-Fi is a little bit weird here, so I apologize.
No worries. All right, Carly, I'll let you go.
Okay.
I'll quit yapping.
Zay. Did you experience or did you ever witness anything that had to do with like racism on campus or witness anybody go through, don't want to say a hate crime, but like LGBTQ, like any gay people on campus, just anything like scandalous in that sense while attending Pensacola?
So I will say. So I grew up in Kansas. And I was black. I was white. My parents raised me to where, like, I never considered my dad a black guy. I was like, that's just my dad, because like they just raised me in that way of just like we're just mom and dad. And so like for me, like the whole like color scheme, like never really like I was kind of like oblivious to it. You know, like, okay, my skin's color is different than my best friend who's across the street, but like his dad's white, my dad's black, but like to me, like they were the same. That's how I was raised. So like I was like oblivious to racism. Like that racism not a thing. Like my dad doesn't say anything about racism. Like can't exist, can't imagine. And so, but then my older brother, I remember him telling me when I got to school, he was like, I think I made like a joke. Like, I saw like only like there's like 3 black people here. He's like, just wait. I was like, okay. And then like they show up, more black people show up like a week after school, so they got there late. And so there's like, okay, there's like there's like 70 of us. Okay, that makes more sense. And so he said, just wait again. He says, wait till next semester. There's a thing that everyone calls spring cleaning. And I was like,
No. Whatever you're about to say.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no! That's such a cliffhanger too.
Oh, there he is. He's back. He's back.
And I was like, oh shit, no. Okay.
All right, he's back. There we go.
What just happened? She was like, no. And then everything just froze. And I was like, what?
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I was really being like, no. I know what you're about to tell us. And yeah.
And so he said, second semester, like, majority of black people here will get called into student life and they're going to get kicked out of school.
Oh my God.
And I was like, dude, get out. I was like, dude, come on. We're at Pensacola Christian College, dude. It's like me, who's never like racism doesn't exist. Doesn't. But little did I know, I'm in Florida, but I'm in Pensacola, Florida, which is like Alabama, and it's like still south. And I was like, this is crazy. What's going on? And sure as shit, springtime comes around.
No.
Springtime comes around, like it just drops. And I was like, he was not kidding. Like for an instance was, I didn't believe him until I actually knew people that got in trouble, and then there was a white person in that group, and he was the only one on campus left. And so the biggest thing that you can get in trouble for at PCC is being off campus with a girl. If a girl will be on campus with a dude. So like that's
Bob
the
Jones.
biggest thing. That's almost like immediately that's you getting kicked out. And so that would be a party. Obviously, someone was very stupid, put it on Snapchat, takes one person from the school to be like, oh yeah, I know them. And so everyone was accounted for. They knew everyone that was at the party. And then the way it worked with demerits was I can't remember. It's either you get to 100, and then that's when you have to go to like the meeting around all the other deans, and then they decide if you're able to stay at school. It's either 100 or 150. I'm pretty sure it was 100. And so I remember one of my friends, he had no marks, gets slapped with 100, so he has to go to the meeting, gets kicked out. So one white dude,
100 right off the bat.
Right
Like,
off the
just
bat.
that was it.
the one white guy, 99.
Are you
Wow.
kidding me?
I don't even know how to possibly get 99. I've seen a lot of the slips. There's no, like, you can't have an odd number. He was still there. Everyone else was gone.
Yeah.
So I was just like, this is wild. But like for me, like my first instance of it, which I didn't even like, I was just confused when it happened. I brought up earlier that my first weekend there, I got called into student life. And so on Sunday, you have to be in Sunday dress, so suit and tie. You have to be in it all day. I didn't know that. So we go to church, we leave, we go to the guys' parking lot. We're going to go to the beach. We change the parking lot, then we go to the beach. And so I get called to student life. Mind you, I didn't even know it's a rule. Whatever. I'm with my older brother and his friends. So I was like, they know the rules. Like, well, nothing we're doing is wrong. So I have no clue. I was like, I've been here for not even a week. Why am I getting called to student life? And so I go in there, knock on the door, he lets me in, and then like just stone cold, doesn't say anything, doesn't introduce himself, doesn't say hi. I sit down and he goes, so is there a reason why you're trying to break our rules here? And I was like,
What?
I was like, I don't know really why I'm. He's like, I don't know why I'm really here. And he goes, have you read the pathway? And the pathway is like their guidebook that you have to like read and then sign it that you read it to go to school. And so I was like, I'm gonna be honest. I glanced at it. I didn't read the whole thing, but I signed it. So he's like, well, it just seems like you're just being very disrespectful, deceitful of our rules, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if you want to be here, you should act like you want to
That
be
word
here.
deceitful. Oh, I hate that word.
That's what was the main thing. That's what I got my demerits for, being deceitful, because he said that we went to the parking lot, we changed. He was like, why did you get changed in the parking lot? It's like, if you didn't know the rule, you would have just gotten changed in your dorm and then left. So obviously you knew the rule. So if you change the parking lot, you're being deceitful. And I just don't get why you're trying to be deceitful here. And I was like, again, I did not know it was a rule. I wasn't trying. I was not trying to do. I wasn't trying to break it at all. Like, I just didn't know. And so he gave me 15 demerits for deceitfulness, and then I left. And like, as soon as I open the door to leave, there's a kid coming in, white kid. And then as soon as he like enters the doorway, the dude's like, his countenance like changes, like instant. He goes, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. My name is so-and-so. What's your name? Here, have a seat. Let's see what you're in here for. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, I know my brother like warned me about stuff, but it was like, I was like, what? And so
Yeah.
that was my first experience. Like, that was the only things that I really noticed about it. Like, I really didn't. I mean, I was sports management, so most of my teachers and professors were more. Most of them, not all of them, came from secular. I had a few secular professors that actually taught there, and like they were more like sports classes. So the head basketball coach, he was in a lot of my classes. My advisor, who was just a sports dude, was a lot of my classes. So for me, I was just there to get my degree. I kept my friends. Like, when I did get in trouble, it was just because I mainly had an attitude in responding to them. Because if you approach me in the right way, then like I'm cool. But like, if you come at me aggressive, I ain't letting that slide. Like, I will not be talked down to at all. So like, as far as like racism, that's like the main things that I experienced. And then it's just like I said, I didn't really like talk to the older people that I knew would most likely be along those lines of it. But for me, the most people that I interacted with, it was kind of on a little basis. And then as far as other things besides just racism, I was very much to myself. Like, it was like I knew a few people that were gay, but they just kind of like kept it to themselves. And I think it was, I don't know, I feel like everyone kind of knew the environment of PCC, so it was like, I'm just gonna keep this to myself and not make it a big deal that I'm here and all those things. So as far as other things of that nature, I really didn't notice things that like abruptly stood out to me. I think it was just an interesting place to be because I feel like sometimes the way they act is it's just they feel justified to do it
Mhm.
because of what the role of the role that they have. I was the only other thing that stuck out to me where I was like dealing with racism because like it's a whole new thing. It was like a whole new thing for me at that time. 18 years old, like I was like, it doesn't exist. It can't exist. Like I've never seen it. I don't expect it to. And then having that little bit of ignorance, and then finally like seeing it, like okay, like I know. And for me, being mixed, it's a little bit different than being full black, especially being mixed that doesn't necessarily look like you're mixed. And so for me, I was like, okay, I know I don't necessarily look black. Why are they treating me different than other people, the normal white people? Or why am I being treated slightly different? And then it was one of those things where I realized, oh, I just don't look white. I get it. So it's not specifically this one thing. And so like this was all stuff I was like trying to figure out freshman in college, falling in love with girls, getting them out broken left and right. So I'm like figuring out what is this stuff. So like that stuff was like in the back of my mind, but still like eating away at me a little bit because I remember I had a history of civ class and I was already in trouble for something else. I was just annoyed. I was annoyed at life. And like history is my best subject. I'm just like, I don't want to be in this class right now. And so I'm just like sitting there. And then my ears perk up because we're talking about Roberto Clemente and how he had the record for the most stolen bases. And he goes, the professor goes, he was Cuban, so that makes a lot of sense. And so I looked up at him, and I was just like thinking about this, is like after all process, like the whole like, I don't look black, I don't look white, I don't look mixed. What does it matter if someone is racist against one people, they're racist against everyone? And I was sitting there, I was like, if that's what I'm dealing with, I'm not going to let something like that slide. So I just stood up, and I knew he was going to call me out because if you go to the bathroom in this class, he asks you where you're going.
Mhm.
So I grabbed my bag, I stood up, I was walking out. He's like, Mr. Walker, is there something wrong? I was just like, I don't care what it is. Like in my mind, racism is black, but like it goes against all. It goes across all boards. And that what you just said about him being Cuban and stealing bases, I didn't like that, and so I don't really care for it. And I left. And then he sent me an email. He was like, "I'm sorry for my joke. It was a little bit over the line."
I was going to say, did you get in any trouble for
I
that?
got.
But it sounds like
No,
he
I didn't
knew
know.
that
He sent
yeah.
he sent me an email, and then he's like, I'm sorry if my joke was a little bit across the line. If you'd like to talk about the situation more, and I'm just one of those dudes. Where, like, if something happens, I'm just like, I don't care. Like, it means nothing to me.
A little bit over the line too. Okay.
I was like, I said what I needed to say. It's like I got bigger problems, man. Like I just said it, so I just left. And then I went to class the next time I was there, and like it never happened. So,
Damn.
Wow.
in a nutshell. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, Carly. You're saying go.
That was it.
Nope.
I mean, the only other thing I was going to ask was, did you guys ever have what is it? So at Bob Jones, instead of a spring break, we had Bible conference.
Yep.
And we had to go to 3 services a day. Did you guys have that as well?
Yep.
Damn.
Crazy.
That's so eerie to me how like it very similar, some of the rules. It's just like
it was one of those things that, like when it's like, okay, it's Pensacola and Bob Jones. It's like Pensacola and Bob Jones. That's what it is. And so it's like our rivals, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So like our impression of Bob Jones was like,
Yeah.
all the girls would be like, oh, they can wear pants now, we can't. And I'm just like, oh, cool, so whatever. And then like the dudes are like, they can wear shorts, we can't even wear shorts unless we're in the field house by ourselves. And I was like, okay, cool, I guess. I was like, I guess they're more loose than we are. So
See, I always thought that you guys were more loosey goosey than us. So it's really funny that to be comparing us like this. Like I thought, yeah, y'all were the heathens. We were the good kids.
that's how it was portrayed to us. That she was the complete opposite.
Okay. Well, now we know. Fuck you, Bob Jones and Pensacola. Turns out we were the cool kids the whole time, all of us. What? So did you have any idea about that distinction on your diploma, or you said that came out of like total left field? You didn't know that it was going to specify Christian school. You had no idea about that? Or was it like, you said something about your diploma having a distinction on it about like what kind of classes you could teach or what you're
it's one of those things where okay, people hear that and it's like, oh, okay. So it's like, now I have an actual accredited degree. But I was even used my own mom. My mom
She's not in the room, is she?
my mom watches. Listen. My mom watches my Instagram. She gonna see this and she gonna watch the whole thing. But she said, you know what? She said it, so she deserved it. She said it.
Oh well, shout out to Dave.
I love my mom to death. I love my mom to death. I do.
But
mom, listen, we gotta talk about this.
Your ears gonna be burning. We were me and my mom, we argue all the time, and it's like serious arguing, but like playful arguing, so it's not like a big deal, but like we're both getting our points across, so it works out great. But this one was a more aggressive argument, and it was something about something that I had actually learned in college, and I was trying to explain it to her. And then she's like, "You don't know."
One thing I actually learned.
No. She was like, "You don't." She's like, "You don't know that." I was like, "What is the point of going to college? If I learn something and I tell people what I learned in college, doesn't mean anything? So what is knowledge then? It doesn't make any sense." And then she goes, "You went to a Christian college."
oh, what the woman?
Oh my gosh!
The woman who did 12 years of Christian homeschooling for you?
Because it wasn't
our point exactly
because
Mom.
it wasn't like, because we weren't talking anything Bible. I think it was like it was a business type question. I took a bunch of business. It was like a legitimate like business question or something like that. I was giving her an answer, and then she said that, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!"
Wow.
I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" I was like, "You pushing me to go there? You were pushing me to go there." But when I learned something there, it doesn't matter now. But
wow.
So is there, and then I do have a buddy that actually brings that up anytime we're having an argument, and he's like, "Is it even accredited? Is it accredited? Is it?"
Wow.
Really? He does it in a joke. He does it in a joking way, but like still. So like for me,
yeah.
I mean, accreditation only, like I don't need accreditation in my college degree. It's like whatever. I'm not even using my college degree. Like I don't care for it either way. Just like when I found out my GPA doesn't even matter in college. So much to try all 4 years.
These get degrees, man.
I got a lot of A's and B's, so just saying. Probably do.
I don't even remember where I got it. Screwed it back. I won't say any more about that.
No, it's all good. Anyone who brags about their GPA is like, stay away from those folks. They're the worst people on earth.
I didn't have a 4.0, so don't worry about it. I didn't have a 4.0. I didn't have that.
Oh no, but I was just saying, like in general, like your GPA matters when you're trying to get into another school. That's the only time anyone gives a fuck. You know,
I'll be honest. When I see them have the tassel things, if any of you guys graduated the tassel things, I'm sorry, but when I see them with the tassel things, I just like, you try hard. That's what
I know what my GPA is from high school and all that stuff, because I was like trying to get into college, and it was a struggle for me. But I don't know. I can't remember shit from college. So obviously we've established that.
No, and honestly, just grades in general. So there's speaking of racism and everything, I remember watching an investigative report on, I think it was on affirmative action. I think that's what it was about. And of course, there's this white supremacist group, and they were talking about how it was like Yale or Harvard or something like that, where the GPAs of the black students wasn't as high as GPAs of like the white students. And, these people are going out and they're becoming lawyers and doctors and everything. And they did like a 10-year follow-up study on everyone that graduated, and it turned out their GPA didn't predict a goddamn thing. Like passing the course is what mattered. And once you got into the field, they all made roughly the same amount of money. They all practiced roughly the same amount of time. They all roughly had the same percentage of, errors. It's the exact same thing. So that it was when I watched that, I was like, okay, yeah, your GPA braggarts are nonsense. And plus, I had a fairly unimpressive GPA in high school, so so it meant a lot to me then. And in fact, so Zay, this isn't about me, but this is important to the topic here. Shift the conversation to me right now. But when I started doing social media, I do mostly political stuff. And I wanted to name my channel C Student Politics. C Student Politics. That was my first name I came up with because in high school I was a C student, and so I think of it as like, if a C student like if a C student like me can figure this shit out, pretty much anyone can. So there's no excuse, if I can. Now, what's interesting, like you're talking about the GPA and stuff, is hey, Kayla and Carla, Wolfie's here. He just walked in. But
Wolfie,
they were asking where Wolfie was because he always shows up. Yeah, he's the mascot for the show. It's a pet friendly show, like we said. But they also kind of reflect not what's valued at the school. And I noticed this when I went to college, because in high school my GPA was 2.87, and in college my GPA was 3.1, and in grad school my GPA 3.84. And the only reason I know those numbers is because it's not like I became this super genius as time went on. It's just that when you're in grad school, the education
on what you need.
And what I was good
you were
at.
probably spending more of your own money at that point too into your education. So I better get every ounce of knowledge I can out of these classes.
Fortunately, that's not true.
Okay, actually, no. I just remembered that your career path. So fuck you. Never mind.
Well, it's a long story about that. But what it was is that the higher education, it focuses on my skills, which are writing and public speech. And, I just got lucky that I happened to be good at those things. And so it kind of went on from there. I have so many questions for you, Zay. This is a fascinating talk that
I told you, TJ. I told you.
So, yes, Kayla, you were right.
It's making me log into my memory. I was like, I went to college 10 years ago as a freshman.
Well, that's funny because I was right about to talk about how recently you went to college. So that's funny that it's all about
the Harlem Shake was popping off.
The Harlem Shake. Oh my God, I forgot about that, of course. But so I am interested. So I went to college in 2000, and I'm interested in knowing. Did you just give me the face when I did that? I know I'm old. I'm sorry, but I was interested in how these rules have evolved because I went to Maranatha, and I was amazed that you said that.
All big three here. What a nice little combo.
That threw me off at first because Maranatha doesn't seem to belong in the conversation with Bob Jones and Pensacola. Those are big schools. Like Maranatha is like a fifth of the size of those two. So it was weird that you.
But I think that was just
I think that's what plays into it. Like the bigger number you're getting, like you're getting more kids. It's like, are we really going to control them with all of these rules that we have going on? Because it's even from after I graduated, I saw like after I graduated, the next freshman class, you could have facial hair. And I was like, yo, dog, that's what I got most of my demerits from. And so it's just like stuff like that. I don't know how much.
Your first traumatic experience at PN.
What are we doing? And so it's like I don't even know how more loose has gotten since that year. So I don't know exactly what I will say from my senior year. Now, like student life, like just flipped over. Like, it really was flipped over. Like the guy who got me the first time I went to the dean's office, he wasn't there. He was gone. And so like everyone that pretty much was working in student life and those people and it kind of makes a little bit of sense because those people that are now higher up in student life, everyone that works at PCC went to PCC and then they worked there for who knows how long. So those people were younger than the ones before them. So, it could be that they're, are more opinionated of, hey, why is this exactly how we do this?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Gen Z, they're savage. I can see that. Gen Z being like, no, we're not doing this. I can see that having happened. I guess you are a Gen Z, aren't you?
Yeah,
are you Gen Z?
I'm a custom, is what they say. 96 is the
Okay.
Casper.
Oh, 96, right at the tail end of the millennials. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barely
So-
made it.
You said something interesting that I think is important to point out. You mentioned like having to unlearn that and unpack that in your second year, that they had changed the rule, and then having those questions, for your leadership, and that blows my mind. Like that's something that I come back to a lot in my thoughts, just trying to like form your place in the world and what you think and feel about laws, rules, everything, and the way we function, and then having this go back and forth all the time. That I'm glad that Bob Jones was just Bob Jones. It sucked the whole time I was there, because I don't know how I would have navigated that. I think it would have made it. I couldn't have taken any more, traumatic stuff, and I'm sure there was some stuff I had to like unlearn there, but that just sounds so intense to me. So
I mean,
anyway, for you.
It wasn't like crazy, like big rule changes, but you could tell that like they were, the rules were changing, and you were never told why.
I would just been like, hypocrisy is hypocrisy. So if you change one little rule, like you don't know what you're doing. It's just me.
I mean, for me, like growing up in like a Christian church, I accept that hypocrisy comes with a big thing. So like for me, I'm just like, that's why like I have a slight attitude problem to some authority sometimes, because I'm just like,
Hey.
I don't like. And so like the rules changes like my senior year, obviously. Last semester, I'm done. Like I don't care. Like I have no demerit at this point. It's like not like I'm like going out of my way to like break rules. I'm just like I'm just gonna do me. And so I remember, and so I'm a senior now. So I can't remember what year they did it, but they changed it to where RAs can. I think it used to be you had to be a junior to be an RA, but then they changed it to, which I don't know that for sure, but they definitely changed the age limit. So they switched it to, pretty sure, he's definitely younger, but I want to say if you were a second semester freshman, you could apply to be an RA. So I'm a senior. So now it's people. So now it's people. I have no clue who you are whatsoever. I don't know who you are. You look like a kid. So like I don't know who the RAs are. And so I walk into the elevator of my dorm, and I'm watching a Hoop Mixtape video, which has, it's a basketball video. It's got some music in the background. So I'm just minding my own business, watching it. Music's playing on the background of it. Kid, elevator door's open. Kid comes in. I say kid because he looked like a kid. Walks in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say exactly his tone, exactly how he did it. He goes, "Hey, cut that out." No, I'm just like,
well, who are you talking to?
like, turn that off. That's unapproved music. And I was like, okay. And I was like, who are you?
Yeah.
He goes, so-and-so, 5th floor, RA. And I legit thought he was kidding. So the elevator door opens, and I bust out laughing in his face. And I just keep walking out. And then he's like, "Hey, stop! I need your ID. I need your ID right now." So I was like, "No, you don't." And so we're like face to face. So we're like, and so we're going back and forth in the main lobby, and the RA working the desk is just like confused as to what is going on. He has no clue, because he's saying, "Give me your ID card," and I was like, 126005. He's like, "I need to see your ID card." I was like, 126005. We went back and forth saying this for like 15 seconds, and then I was like, "What the fuck am I doing?" So I was like, I gave him my ID card, and then he takes a picture of it, and I put it back on my wall. I turn around and I stopped, and I turned around and looked at him. And I said, "You know what? Give me your ID card." He's like,
"Fair is fair.
What?
Fair is fair. How do I know?"
He's like,
yeah.
He's like, "What? Why?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Because I don't like how you approach me. This is why we're in this moment right now, because how you approach me, and I will not take that. So I'm taking a picture of your ID card, and I'm going to student life. So give me your ID card." And he's like, "Okay." And this is I almost died laughing. I had to keep it stern, but I almost died laughing. As he's grabbing his wallet, he has a water bottle in his hand. he starts to shake and he drops his water bottle.
Oh Christ!
I hope that moment changed the course of his life.
And so I took a picture of it. I walk out the dorm, and then I was like, did I do that? I was graduating, and like this was like I had like a month or two left. I was like, I'm graduating, and I was like, I really don't even care. And so like I was going to the field house because there's a basketball game going on. I go in there and it's like, yo, guess what? I was just like yelling with an RA just now. And then that was it.
Guys,
That was
check
it.
this out.
And then I was in class, and I got. This is a long story to get to the point of me seeing how they actually changed it. And so I'm in class, just digging around on my computer. I get an email from Student Life. I was like, I know what that is. I was like, I know exactly what that is. And so it's for an appointment. Every time you got I did this every time I got a call slip. It has the date and time of your meeting. Whenever I would get a call slip, I would just go right away because I was like, one, I don't like waiting because I was like, I don't know what it is. So I just go in there anyway. So I would go to Student Life, and the lady working the desk, sweet Southern lady. She was the best. Like, just a sweetheart. If I would go in there with like a little bit of like, a little bit of scruff, she'd be like, it's not a good day. You might want to go back and shave and come back. I was like, okay, good looks. So she was sweet. So anytime I would go, every time I got a call slip, I would go immediately. So I saw the email. I was like, I ain't got time for this. So I went there right away for like the head dean. Like it was for the head dean. I was like, I'm fucked. And so I go in there. I was like, hey, this is for this date. I was wondering, like, can I just do it now? I might have kind of lied and I said I had to do some stuff for my car before I drive home after graduation, and she bought it. But anyways, she was like, okay, he's not in today. Let me see if I can get another dean to look at it. And I was like, sweet. So now I don't got to talk to the big dog. You can talk to someone else. So she takes.
You're
like
maneuvering this brilliantly. I'm loving everything that I'm hearing. Well played, sir.
I'm a pro. It's been 4 years. I'm a pro. And so it's taken her a minute to do it because she can't like get into his computer to print out my rap sheet because it was literally a rap sheet. And so she finally gets it printed off, and I go see a different dean, and not dean, RA or whatever. I don't even know what they're called anymore. And so I go and see him, and she hands him a folder. He opens it, and anytime I've gotten in trouble, it's just like a few words, and then it tells you if I get demerits or I don't get demerits. And there's a number, and he circles it if I get demerits, and then 0 if I don't get demerits. He opens it, and this is 2 full pages.
2 pages?
Yeah. The first page is the description of that altercation. The second page is all of the things that this kid wrote me up for, and it was full. It was full. And I was like, this ain't gonna be fun. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna be straight with them.
As an educator or an adult, do you not look at a folder and see that like something's like the person who wrote this is doing something different than everybody else in this folder and not deal with it that way? I hope that's what you're about to tell us.
It gets better. So he starts to read it, right? And as he's reading it, he looks so confused. So I don't know. I have no clue what this kid said. I don't know what he wrote. None of it. So he reads it, and he like looks at me, and he goes, "Can you just explain this to me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can." And so I literally told him the whole story, word for word. I was like, I'm just gonna tell him the truth. And I was like, I agree. Yes, I was disrespectful because he is an RA and he does have authority over me. I agree. I was disrespectful. I own up to that. I was. But at the same time, the way he approached me was demeaning, and I did not accept that. Because I told him, I have friends that are RAs. If they were to tell me those things, they would have just told me those things. They were done in a nice way, a respectful way, but the way he came at me, that set my tone.
Yeah.
And me taking the picture of his ID, I was literally going to come here and talk to you guys about it because I didn't like how he talked to me. Because if he's talking to me that way, he's talking to everyone that way. And then he stops. He like thinks for a second, and he goes, "I'm gonna tell you a quote that you've probably heard before. with great power comes great responsibility.
Ah!
And I was like, did this dude just quote Spider-Man to me? And he was like, I understand, and I really liked the conversation I had with him. He was like, I understand that you're graduating, and like you're pretty much done, like you don't care about anything, but we want you to be able to come to student life if you have these problems because you graduate, but more kids come in, and so like we are trying to change how student life, you know, acts, and as him being part of student life, how he acts, it was not right. So you had every right to come here, and that's what we want from you, and that's what we want you to do. And you know, I can understand how, you know, the altercation happened. And then he said, so he is definitely going to be called student life, and I will be talking with him. And then
Right on.
he goes to the next page of the demerits, and he skips all of them. He goes to disrespect. I think it was like 10, 15 demerits, circles disrespect. And he's like, all right, you have a good day. If you have anything, just come, any problems, come back. I was like, all right, cool. So I left and I was like, one, I got to yell at an RA. Two, he gets to go to student life and get lectured. And three, I only got 10 demerits for it.
So
Worth the
like
price of
would he have
admission.
ended up seeing that, like
Nice.
what your consequence was, or do you think the dean told him like not shaking out of that, but 10 demerits too, little bitch?
I mean, I'm assuming he got talked to, so you know, it's the guy I talked to seemed very sincere. It was like he literally said like we're trying to change how student life is and all of those things. I was like,
All
okay,
right.
so you know,
Give one
so
little point to Pensacola there. Good
yeah,
job.
so like I will say like their course as I was there, it was slowly like changing, slowly, but it was changing.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
stop people getting kicked out, but
Yeah, that's it's a constant theme with, I mean, I guess anywhere, like rules never stay static, but it's interesting to watch this in religious institutions, because it's different when a religious institution lays down, you know, their laws and say, well, we're doing this because God told us to, because you know, God supposedly said this thousands of years ago, and within 5, 10, 15, 20 years you've changed a dozen rules. Now that's weird because, you know, 10 years ago you said God said this, but now it's changed. Like the big one that I saw at Maranatha was women wearing pants. So when I attended Maranatha, women were only allowed to wear pants on very rare occasions. They could wear them like playing sports or, you know, very casual activities. But 90% of the time, if you were in class, if you were just walking around campus, you know, anywhere in which you weren't, you know, physically exerting yourself, you had to be in dresses or skirts. And if you did wear pants, women could only wear khakis or slacks. They were not allowed to wear jeans. Jeans were completely off limits. And in 2005 or 2006, it was after I had graduated, they changed the rules saying that women could wear jeans. God changed his mind, apparently. Jeans were okay. However, the kicker was they couldn't wear blue jeans. They could wear black jeans or gray jeans or any other color jeans, but they couldn't wear blue. And of course, the student body asked, they said, okay, wait, why can't women wear blue jeans? And the answer that we got from the administration was, well, you know, blue jeans, the specific blue color of the dye that they wore with blue jeans, kind of, it symbolizes like the mid 1800s when men were working in the mines, and so, you know, it's too masculine, absurd, it's laughable that any like a group of adults sat down and came up with these questions. But it and it gets to what you guys are kind of getting at here, that if you're gonna make a rule, it should stand and fall by the virtue of its own merit. And especially if this came from capital G God, like this, like, all right, well, we're not doing this because God said it. It kind of makes you lose credibility whenever, you know, just because the next generation comes along, it's like, oh, well, I guess this rule wasn't so important after all. And with the racism thing, there was a great observation you said there, Zay, when you realized that racism, it's all about how can I phrase it? You know, your proximity to whiteness. That's really all it is. And it's a lot of people kind of get lost in what you were saying they did earlier. It's like, okay, well, this is anti-black stuff, or whatever stuff. But what it really comes down to is like, are you white or not? And that's why. So, like you were talking about the fact that you're biracial. You have one black parent, one white parent, and it's why biracial people are called black and not white, even though they're equally white and black. But you can't be white. That's off the table, and that's how you know what the whole focus of race is, because race it's not real, which is it's kind of odd to say out loud that it's not actually a thing. It was just like whiteness was conjured up by the Portuguese, of all fucking people, the Portuguese. That's very funny to me. That it's the Portuguese, because like if we're talking whiteness here, they barely make the cut, man. Like, come on, get the fuck out of here, Portuguese. But yeah, the Portuguese were the first people who kind of came up with this concept of a white race, and it was to justify, their slave trade. That's okay. Well, white people are off limits, and like what's fascinating about race is to look through history and to observe who was considered white and who wasn't considered white as time goes on. And like, for example, how, Irish people weren't considered white, which is also hilarious that, the whitest people on earth weren't considered white until very recently. And I don't know if I talked about on the show, Carla and Kayla, but there's an interesting letter that Benjamin Franklin wrote. And Benjamin Franklin, as far as the founding fathers go, was about as cool as they got. The guy was about as progressive as you can find for a guy in 1780s. But he, no surprise, his vision for the United States of America was that it was to be a white country. He just assumed that this is going to be a white country. But what's fascinating is to look to see who he considered white. Because as far as Ben Franklin was concerned, the only people who were white were British people and Northern German people. That's it. Like no one else that he considered white. And the only reason he considered Northern Germans white was because everyone knew that the people in England descended from the Angles and the Saxons, who were Northern Germany. So he kind of had to include them. He didn't include the rest of the Germans. It was just them. And how this just blasé attitude toward they don't even think about it. How like the standard of what is correct is what white people do. And it's like why you mentioned the spring cleaning thing, where the black students were kind of, just purged from the population within one semester. I guarantee you they never looked at it that way. They never did. There's like, well, here are the rules, and the black people just, for whatever reason.
I don't think they ever looked at it that way, too. I'm glad you said that. If we were having them on the podcast, there would be reason after reason after reason why this is biblical, and they won't even try to see it that way. To be a human being and not to ever challenge your own belief system, you're humaning wrong. What the fuck? Like, if you are not observing the world around you constantly and going like, am I thinking right about this? Like, what? I don't.
Yeah, like, it allows you to exclude or to excuse just the most inhuman stuff imaginable, up to expelling, most of the black kids and never asking why this rule seems to disproportionately affect you based upon how much melanin your body produces. They never think about how weird that is.
Well, you signed the pathway, so you ruled you don't care.
Right? Yeah. It's like,
hey, we got about the pathway.
And even so, I actually misunderstood you when you were talking about the Roberto Clemente thing, because when you said your professor said that, well, Roberto Clemente stole a lot of bases, which makes sense because he's Cuban. Honestly, my first thought was, oh yeah, Cubans are traditionally very good at baseball. That was actually my first thought. Because
he slicked it by. I was like, okay.
I didn't even think that. And so then when you confronted him about it, honestly, I expected him to say, oh no, I was just saying Cubans are really good at baseball. No, he actually meant the racist joke, which is fucking wild that he just said. I'm amazed that because if he had the balls to just say that in front of his class, that I guarantee that wasn't the first time he said it.
I had no idea that he was going to get some fucking kickback on that.
I mean, I heard it and I kind of was like what? And I was like looked around, like I don't think anyone was paying attention, like at all, because like no one laughed. He kind of just was like, oh, did his own like little chuckle, and then like kept going. And I was like,
yikes!
He laughed at his own joke. No one else laughed.
But literally, when I tell you, like, that day, I was like up to here, and I was just like, "This is the last straw. Last straw."
So, sorry, go
wait,
ahead.
wait, TJ, you just taught me something. I have a really great announcement. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Irish people and not, like being considered part of the white people crew. And I've long resented my whiteness in my life. So I just recently took a DNA test and I found out I'm 1/4 Irish. So I don't feel so out of place here anymore. I feel like I belong here now. And
Let's
this is the best
go.
thing that I could have learned on the podcast today.
That's
Thank
funny.
you, guys.
That's
I know here.
that's funny.
There's a white person thing this.
I know, right? Yeah. 300 years ago, I wouldn't be considered white.
Let me tell you, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for teaching me.
When I did like 23andMe, because I mainly did it because like my dad's whole like side is like it's like a jigsaw puzzle, so that's mainly why I did it. And then my mom was asking me like, why you like, and I was trying to like get on American, what is it, Heritage or something, to try and like find like
Ancestry DNA.
Yeah, Ancestry, just like the paperwork type of stuff to see like for anything. She's like, why are you so interested on your dad's side? Like, why don't you ask about our side? And I was like, you guys are white, you're German. I don't what? Like, we know everything.
No mysteries here.
You're white.
I'm actually trying to find out the cool side. I'm trying to get
I know.
I might have said something along those lines.
I don't care about when you came over on the Mayflower.
Yeah. I can go to the answer. The one quick thing about that with no, it's a fascinating topic. But with ancestry and everything, so this kind of goes back to the whole what does race mean and everything, and how it's not fucking real, which is hard. It's not real, but it is real, as in like we have to deal with it in society because that's the way that we've been raised. And it's funny reading ancient writings because like if you look in like the Roman times or the Bible times or something, you don't see anything written about race like at all because the concept didn't exist. And everything's about nationality. There's a whole lot about nationality, but like different racial groups were still like 1,500 years from existing. And it gets kind of ridiculous. This is how you can break it down to prove that race isn't real, because you guys know the Supreme Court case that established segregation, separate but equal, Plessy versus Ferguson. What happened with that was there was a guy named Homer Plessy, a black civil rights activist in like the 1880s. And God, can you imagine how tough that would have been? Being a black civil rights activist 140 years ago. But it was Louisiana or Alabama or something. And they had set up this rule saying that the train cars were split between white train cars and black train cars. And so he went and sat down in the white train car. And they said, hey, man, you got to leave. He says, no, actually, I don't think this is constitutional. I don't think that you can actually do this. And so when they stopped, of course, the authorities came, they arrested him, took it to court. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, all right, so we're going to declare right now that segregation is allowed, but it has to be equal, wink, wink, and everything. And so that's kind of what. Now, the interesting thing about Homer Plessy was 1/8 black. He had one black, like, great grandparent. He, if you saw him today, you'd be like, "Oh, that's a white guy." But no, legally, he was a black person because race isn't real. It's all made up, however you want to do it. And speaking of things that are made up, I've been wanting to ask you, Zay. It's like, so you haven't mentioned much about your like spiritual journey because no one's asked, so that's fair. But I'm curious. You went to Pensacola. You didn't care that it was a Christian school, or you learned like you didn't go because you wanted to attend a Christian school. What was your spiritual journey like? Because you grew up independent Baptist, you were homeschooled the entire time. Holy shit, that had been rough. But how has that gone over the years?
Like growing up, it was like I think I said like very early on, like, is this my religion, my parents' religion? And then, getting to a place around like 17, 18, I did believe like everything in the Bible is true. There's only one true God. Like Jesus is my savior and all those things. So I believed it in that sense of the way. So like for me, it's like, okay, I'm here. Like I'm not saying these people are liars, but like I'm just here. So like. And I was just accustomed to just going to church, that's it. It is what it is. And then probably like senior year I was graduating, and it was kind of more, I wouldn't say more. I was saying it was becoming more real to me. So I was like, okay, it's not my parents' religion; it is my religion. So it was something like I actually really did truly believe. And so it was just one of those things where I was just completely, the main reason I was kind of like never really in, because I hate hypocrisy. Like, I'm a real person. Like, I'm either all in or I'm not all in. Like, I'm not gonna say, yeah, this is what I believe, when I'm gonna go and do what I know this teaches I shouldn't be doing, and then pretending I'm the same person on a Sunday. Like, I can't stand that. I hate it. I hate when people post Bible verses on Instagram when I know exactly what you're doing the night before. So I'm just like, I don't get it. But like, do you, like, that's what you want to do? Like, I understand why people have religion. That's where I'm at right now. I'm not jumping ahead or anything. But so at the time of graduating, it was more real to me. And then it was one of those things like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I would, nothing I'm ashamed about at all or anything like that nature. And then graduated, moved back here, and then got a girlfriend who used to go to college, the same college. We knew each other from college. Started dating long distance. So obviously, being from the same college, we believe the same things. Like, our relationship along just was wise. Like, we communicated. God wasn't really important, I would say, in the relationship. It was at the beginning, I think.
God wasn't really there with us when we when we were funny. We wasn't super important. I'm sorry, dude. That was funny.
I'm confused.
Yeah, what were you saying, Kayla? I didn't understand it either.
I'm sorry. I thought that was funny the way you said that. You were like, God was just like not that super
I
important.
mean, like,
that made me feel happy.
At the beginning, it was, because it's like we both believe the same things. We're on the same level, same relationship with God, I would say. And then once our relationship started, like, everything was perfect. Like, and for me, it was just like, my life is great. Like, I don't really, I go to church. I'm not really focused on those things, but like, that's just where I'm at. I believe those things, but it's like I'm not practicing them. So relationship was going great. Long distance, it's fine. It's no big deal. And then get engaged, and then move to Florida. And then, as we're 2 hours outside of Tampa, she says, I think we should pause the wedding for a little bit. And I was like, news to me.
I just moved here.
And the reasoning was because her walk with God wasn't what she thought it was. And as it's gotten better, she doesn't know if she's supposed to marry me. And so I immediately am like, oh, is this happening because my walk with God isn't where it's supposed to be? And so 2 days later, breaks it off, cold turkey. Like,
whoa,
that's it. So I quit my job, got rid of my dog. No one. I only knew her sister, and her family, and that was it. So like, I'm in a whole woman Tampa, whole new place. I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? And so at that point in time in my life, God became very, very real. Like, I believed it 100% because that's all I had. Like, that's what I leaned on, and I was reading the Bible all the time, and I was like, this makes so much sense. It was a relationship that at times in my life growing up I tried to pursue. It just wasn't exactly it. And I was like, this is it. I get it. Like, it used to be, I believe it, but then it was like, okay, this is 100% real to me. And so it was a complete change, and it was brought on by her breaking up with me because I was alone, I had nothing, and God was there. And so I ended up moving back home, completely defeated, didn't know what I was doing with my life. I was just like, okay, I thought this is how it's supposed to go. You're a Christian, you find a Christian girl, then you get married, then you have kids, and life's good. And I was like, I was so close. What happens now? And then I started working. My best friend growing up, he was part of a startup church, and then I started working in the church. And then one thing I've always, they say, like, you have a gift from God. Like, one thing I've always been good is just working with kids and teaching with kids. So I was working in the kids ministry, and so I was enjoying it, loved it a whole lot. And it was just one of those things where, like, time was going on, I was growing, all those things, but at the same time, it's like outside of like church. like my life, it has like nothing. Like it just wasn't. There was nothing. It was stagnant. I was like, I don't get it. Like I do everything that I'm supposed to be doing. You know, I'm believing this, I'm following this, and then a year goes by, and I'm just like, I'm not happy like with my life. Like I don't understand it. Like I'm always trying to do what I'm supposed to be doing, but like why am I not like enjoying my own life? And then like I remember it started like Sundays would come around and I would wake up and I would be like, I don't want to go to church today. Like I don't want to. I don't want to go. I don't care. I don't want to go. And so I was like, if that's the case, if I wake up on a Sunday and the first thing is like, oh, I got to go to church today, why am I going? Like I said, I'm not a fake person. I can't do it. I just don't do it. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything religion.
I'm
None
not
of that
fucking
stuff.
going.
Yeah, literally, I was like, I'm just gonna do, not to be like anything. I was like, I'm just gonna do what I want to do and like take care of myself. Like I'm just gonna focus. I'm gonna focus on my life. And so and when I started focusing on my life,
Shit started changing. It was very crazy,
and
right?
then so and so after that phase, it like it even more after that because it was like after that I was just like pissed and annoyed anytime I would hear anything about religion and all of this stuff and don't really care. It's like why I just hate it all. And then I think that was just me being like a little bit bitter. And then after that went away, I became more of at the end of the day, like it boils down to with any type of religion, it boils down to like faith and belief. Because I'm one of those people. There's no proof. You can say there's proof over here across the country in the Middle East, blah blah blah. This is proof. This is proof. This is proof. If it's not blatant, there's like no like full blatant proof that you can see. You know that you can read. There's just no blatant proof in any religion.
Nope.
You know, you can say, oh, this was written 1,000 years ago. We translated it, whatever. You know, for me, I don't care what religion it is. There's no physical proof. You have to at the end of the day, you have to believe it 100%. That's your faith. And for me, I'm just like, I don't believe in anything. It's hard to believe it because I just don't have that desire. And then still growing, you know, more months down the road, kind of like where I'm at now, I truly do understand why people have their faith and why they believe it. And so I look at it as like someone's holding a pie chart, whatever you want to call it. You have your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. And for me, like I don't have a spiritual. Like it just there's no draw. There's just no. It's just something that I've come to terms like fairly recently. I just have no draw to it. It's not bitterness. It's not anger. It's just there's no pull. There's no hole that I have to fill or anything. There's just no pull.
Exactly. You've described my experience like dead on. Carla's nodding. Yeah.
There's just no attraction to it. But at the same time, it's like me, for an example, when I was in Florida, like that was my crutch. And I think the main reason, not necessarily a crutch, because you know, I'm not saying people that when they believe in their faith and lean on it, it's a crutch. It's like that's what gives them strength. That's what gives their like purpose. And I love that for people that they have that spiritual pie in their chart, if you will, and that they find meaning and purpose in that. But for me, how I've always been just growing up, it's if you're gonna do something, you have to do it. Like no one cares. Like you gotta get over it. Life takes action. Life takes action. Like we can all agree, life more than 70% probably sucks. So it's like, okay, I gotta figure out why does it suck and all those things. So when someone who believes in something having a rough time, they can go to their faith for comfort and all of those things. But for me, life takes action. It's like I don't need to go to something for comfort because you still have to have action. You know,
Yeah.
No matter what you believe.
So true,
life
Bestie.
takes
Well
action.
said.
So for me, it's like I don't, not to be like egotistical or anything. Like my belief is in myself because I have to take the action. Like I don't need, I don't have that comfort that I have to feel in the religion.
Yeah,
or
really
like
well
that.
said, Zay. Yes.
I get what people, I understand what people do because it's comforting to them. But at the same time, like you still have to take action to correct the things in your life, or you know, you just can't just fully rely on those things. And me not having any of those desires, I have to take action. Like I have to.
Yeah.
You know, I can, you know, be emotional about it, or I can feel bad about it, and all those things, or even, you know, when something good is happening, life still requires action. And so that's where I'm at now. Like that's it's a lot more into it, but I condensed it a little bit, and I think I did a pretty good job. I think I did.
Yes,
But that's
I'm
where
so
I'm
proud
at.
of you.
So, you know.
Well, I'm proud of all of us, but I'm proud of how you just said that. Like, that was incredible. That was really well said today. But just, I want to take a little second, and I don't mean to, Kai is a huge part of this, and she's still a Christian, and I love that we've worked really hard to, like, make sure that the podcast is as diverse as we possibly can without having too many people in it. But it's always, I just want to say, like, for us, and it's not an attack on anybody that does still believe, but it's hard. It's so hard to, like, walk away from that, especially when your whole family believes it. It, like, there's no way to describe it to somebody that hasn't chosen to walk away from, like, the foundation, their moral foundation, the moral code and like compass that was instilled in them from their parents, like, or your family or your guardians. Like, who else are we supposed to trust more as young people? So to make the decision, especially so early in adulthood, I think we're all really young, to just go your own way is fucking badass, and that's why we're here doing this. And so hell yeah, Zay, good job.
Well, I
love
think,
that for you, whatever your journey is, but that's awesome.
I think, like, what plays a big part into it, I would say, like, would be my mother, because, like, her and my dad, how they, like, handle us, complete opposites, polar opposites, But I will say, like, her faith has never wavered, not once. And, I obviously, growing up Christian, you hear of, a lot of times teens rebelling, and, there's always a black sheep and everything. And, like, I had two older brothers, and the thing was, like, I had two older brothers. They were both black sheep. Like, they got kicked out of the house. It's just like one of those things.
Damn.
Like, my brother.
Oh no, can't imagine that.
My brother.
A lot of that going around.
My brother above me, he was just super chill. Like, he never got into trouble. And then I just sat back as the baby and watched all the mistakes they made and figured out how to sneak around. So that's how it was. And so by the time, like, my brothers were gone, I still had, like, 2 years with my mom. So it was just me and my mom. And, like, we became best friends. She was one that would always say, I'm your mom, I'm not your best friend. But, like, she was my best friend because I was done with senior early. And then I broke her trust, and that sucks, when I was 17. And it was, like, a whole, like, reset of everything. And then, but, like, I know, like, she's never disowned me. She's never disowned my other brothers. I've made her cry a plethora of times. But, like, she has never changed or wavered, and, like, we can discuss these things. Like, as I've gotten older, when I was, especially in college, like, when we would, like, talk about things, like, I was a more aggressive arguer with her about things of, like, especially, like, spiritual nature. Cause, like, just where I was at in life, I wasn't mature enough to have an actual adult conversation with her, and, like, not get upset at what they say, because it's like you have past history with who you're arguing with. So, but, like, as I've gotten older, like, just this past Monday, like, we were in the car together, and we literally were talking about, she asked me why I don't believe what I used to believe, and we could have an actual conversation about it. And it's like, she doesn't show disappointment in her conversation with me. She is open and honest with me. She tells me how she feels about everything, and how she, what she believes. And so, like, her never wavering once in what she believes, and then, like, not, disowning me for all the fuckery that I'm prone to. Like, she just has always, she knows that I'm a wild card. And I remember her realizing, like, her switch from her telling me what to do, from her talking down to me, to her just being, her telling me how she feels, how I'm doing something, and knowing that she's just gonna leave it there. Like, it's up to me to, like, make the final decision. So, like, her, like, she has, like, she's a trooper, like, 4 boys, wild. We were all wild. And just to see how she changes and evolving with the dynamics of 4 very different boys, and how they are, like, with religion and everything, like, because we're all very different when it comes to, like, how we were raised and how we are now. And then just how she handles the situation as she's growing. She's not perfect. She would be the first one to tell you, but Christy Walker's a saint. And
she sounds like a badass. Yeah.
She is. Like,
your mom sounds awesome.
She's a trooper. So, yeah. She's also my financial advisor if anyone's looking for a financial advisor. Just kidding. Wouldn't recommend. She forgot 2 bills, so it's okay.
Okay. Don't fire her mom. But Yeah, so a couple things I wanted to say about what you mentioned. I agree with everything Kayla said. That is a great way you put that, and I want to address some of the things you mentioned. But before I do so, I want to talk about. I went through. Oh, actually, no. There's three things. The first thing I want to address is I don't know. You said I don't know about
I'm gonna be
you.
right
Okay,
I
well,
have to go tend to a kid, but I'm listening. Please keep going.
all
Go
right.
ahead.
Well, I'll save it later because it concerns Kayla. The thing I was going to mention,
Oh,
but
no, I'll wait for it. I'll wait for it then. It's okay.
oh
It's
no,
okay.
oh, it's just a
let's
joke.
wait.
I was just gonna say that I don't know about Carla, but I do know that Kayla and myself are both oldest child supremacists. So don't come here with your baby in the family
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to
We're
hear
the
that shit.
favorite.
I
I
bet
don't
you
want to
We're
hear
just
the
that
get
shit.
laughed
favorite.
Don't
at.
want to
We're the
hear it.
favorite, and you'll know
Okay.
why. We're the favorite. Babies are the favorite. Everyone knows
It's
this.
so
So
annoying because, like, what's
Endgame.
special about you other than you just got more time? Like,
you got to
good for
break all the
you.
rules and
Because
everything.
it's their last chance to create the best human possible.
To bond with a child? Okay.
I know. And the other thing I was going to talk, the second thing to say was that you mentioned. So I went through a phase two where I was just really angry and aggressive about the religion thing. And you said that you had a hard time having mature adult conversations with your mom about these topics, whatever. But give us some credit here, and yourself some credit here too. I mean, you're asked to have a mature adult conversation about whether or not demons are real. Come on, I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like this is what.
Hold on.
There's only so much
Hold on.
maturity I can pack into
What's
that.
your opinion on that, though?
No, of course not.
I say yeah. Well,
I
no,
don't
no,
know,
no.
okay,
It's
man.
different
I
for
don't
you
know,
two
Oh
guys.
my
man.
God!
We don't want
I
to
don't
talk
know,
I
about
thought I was
man.
amongst
with
friends
me.
here. I
I
thought
don't
that
know,
was.
man. That's
Well, never mind
there's
then.
some freaky
But,
stuff out there.
I take everything back. This is a legitimate conversation. Whether or not demons are real. But so with religion though, one thing that I will say that it's very easy to dismiss the absurd claims of religion and wonder like why are people buying into this. And I would talk about this. I swear I didn't mean to talk about race this entire time. I didn't plan, but everything just kind of falls into it. I noticed something with like white liberals. Something that they do is that they will talk about the most obnoxious, most awful people in the United States are your church attending, Bible thumping, gun truck Trump voters or whatever. And I agree, they're despicable. I agree 100%. But then they'll turn around as like the black church. The black church is a bastion of the community. It's just like, okay, hold on here. What's going on? Because black people are more Christian than white people. Like the group that attends church the most in the United States are black women by far. And so they're salt of the earth. Those Christians we love and everything. Because how it comes off to me. Yeah, right? Like how it comes to
Yeah, it's so sweet. I have not been to a black congregation that wasn't like just so warm and like honestly great music and more fun than I've ever had at a mostly white people church. So
but the black church is still pretty problematic economically and socially and culturally. They still have a lot of like really poisonous views like in the black community. I don't know. But anyway, but to me, what it comes off as from white liberals when they do this, where they dismiss white Christians, but they embrace black Christians. Like, well, of course we expect white people to know religion is nonsense, but black people can't possibly figure this out. We've got to coddle them and pretend that that bothers me. I don't like it at all. But conversely, there is something to be said about the role religion plays in human society, like that you mentioned, Zay, that you do understand, like life is terrifying and it's cruel and it's harsh and it's brutal. And having a belief that not necessarily an inherently selfish one, or what it kind of is, that don't mind me, I'm just here on a mission from God. It gives you some value and some happiness, and maybe he has something planned for me when life is so horrible. And I like to reference my favorite religious philosopher, Karl Marx. If you guys aren't Marxists, you should be. I want to point it out there. Read it. But so a lot of people talk about how Karl Marx says that religion is the opiate of the masses. That's people will refer to it. And they say, okay, well,
I agree with that.
Well, so I agree too, but the way people use it, they use it in like a derisive and derogatory manner, in that Karl Marx is dismissing these fucking rubes as using, drugs or religion as a drug, trying to cope with, but what he was saying is that he was saying it in a sympathetic way, because the way he phrased it was that how'd it go? Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opiate of the masses. And I think that's beautiful. I think that is perfectly said, because the lower you get on the socioeconomic status and the worse the world treats you, the more likely you are to believe, like, oh yeah, there has to be something to this, because grasping with this idea that life is just brutally unfair to this group of people and this other group of people gets to live way better than we'll ever get a chance to. I can't get up in the morning without. So I do get that. Like, I do understand why it's there. It doesn't make it true, but I do get it. So I'm glad you point that out, that, you know, we're not being overly cruel when we talk about this. So that's good.
Yeah. I just want to say that everything that TJ, NZ, me, I'm always just making jokes. Carla, you're always like kind of quiet, so you be spitting bars too. Let me preface this comment with that. But TJ and Zay, you guys have made some remarks tonight that have been really profound to me. So good job, guys. Like, I'm sitting here like turning. Oh, was it accredited?
Dang.
It was.
It was.
Brought it up.
It
It
was.
was accredited.
It
Yeah.
was.
Okay, sorry. I just had
How dare you.
I saw an opening. I'm gonna let you guys wrap it up though, because my kids are literally out there maybe killing each other.
All right.
So,
Fantastic.
I
They've
gotta
been reading their
wrap up.
Bible. But but that was great. That was great.
This
So
was really good. Yeah, but I just wanted you guys to know you made some comments tonight that like have really resonated with me, both of you, and like I'm gonna be turning over for probably the next like several days. But
good
anyway,
stuff.
guys, yeah.
All right.
I don't know if
Well,
we're wrapping up in general, but I'll be
yeah,
back.
we're
guys.
going to wrap up here. Thank you so much, Dave, for joining us. That was a fantastic episode. Kayla, thank you for bringing him on. How'd you feel about it, man?
It was fun. It was good. I as I've gotten older, you asked me like 2 years ago, I'd be like, nah, I can't talk about all that stuff. You know, I don't know how to talk about it. But like getting older, it's like easier to talk about because like it's life. So
And you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. Like, I hope
I like
know
telling
you're a little
stories,
younger
too.
than us. Yeah, you're a great storyteller, but we just want you. You're a little bit younger than us. You're not super younger than us, but like you're not alone. And like I don't know how many people from Pensacola are like doing what you're doing, but welcome to the It Gang. Yeah. So hope that.
Thanks.
All right. Appreciate
All
it,
right,
guys.
guys.
Bye.
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 Uh,